you just mentioned the TikTok deal with China, and among the many conversations that have happened in the aftermath of the assassination of your good friend, Charlie Kirk, has been the terrible effects that social media has had on young people. And among the platforms that have been spewing this hatred and these cheering people about Charlie Kirk's assassination is TikTok. So the question is it worth it for the damage that it has done in many ways to our kids?
So I didn't know too much about TikTok, and Charlie actually recommended it to me. He said, you should go on TikTok, but other people too. And I went on TikTok, and I really hit big. I mean, I think I had more views than anybody else in the world, actually. And as you know, I did phenomenally with youth, young people, very young people, young voters that typically are Republican. I think Romney got like 6% or something like that. It wasn't so long ago. And I got tremendous, millions and millions
Huge
of
swing.
Young kids.
Absolutely.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I give TikTok and Charlie and probably some other reasons, but we did well. But I got to understand TikTok. You're right. They said negative, but they also said mostly positive about Charlie. I mean, the statements on TikTok and other places. Now, look, I saw on Fox and I saw on others some of the quotes that people made that was so horrible. And you say, where do these people live? Where do they come from? They said horrible things about the death of Charlie. And I guess we just have sick people out there. I mean, even if you didn't like them, you can't say the kind of things that they say. But that was long beyond TikTok. That was things that were said.
So there's a lot of things out there. And you have this executive order now that we just heard about on political violence and hate speech.
Right.
And you want to make Antifa a terrorist organization.
They are.
Do you believe that there is a vast terrorist movement in the United States that people need to be aware of? And is it responsible for Charlie Kirk's killing, for the attempts on your life, for these CEOs that we saw in New York City? Is there something people need to understand?
You never know, and we'll find out maybe. But in the meantime, we're going to do a big thing with respect to Antifa. It's a sick group. I mean, very, very sick group. We have a lot of things. They love burning the American flag. I think it's terrible that they burn the American flag. We're going in and we're saying it incites riots, and therefore you go to jail for 1 year if you burn the American flag. That's different than Antifa, but Antifa burns a lot of American flags. Because, as you know, the free speech got us on the American flag. The courts have ruled free speech, so we're going to go on an incitement of riots.
I
saw it the other day.
I
saw it the other day on your show. They have an American flag, and a guy starts burning it, and the people went crazy about it, and they ended up rioting all over the place. So we think that's a reason also, and we're going into the courts with that, which is incitement. Antifa causes tremendous incitement, and the things they say and the things they do are horrible. So we're going to find out.
You said millions and millions of dollars going towards some of these groups for agitation the other day.
They're agitators.
Who are they?
Well,
and where's the money coming from? Is it foreign entities?
Yeah, you're going to find out, and we're going to find out in great detail. And it surprised me that Biden wouldn't have done it, because it really became hot over the last 3-4 years. It surprised me that Biden wouldn't do it, but then as I got to know him, first of all, he didn't call the shots. He wasn't calling the shots. But as we got to see what was happening in Biden's group, Antifa plays perfectly for them, absolutely perfectly. But it's a terrorist organization, in my opinion, and we're going to find out. All those questions are going to be answered.
Charlie said, that there was no such thing as hate speech. He obviously, no one anticipated what happened to Charlie, but you have always been in favor of free speech.
Yeah,
so do you have concerns about, some people look at this and your critics will say, well, this crackdown is a crackdown on free speech?
It's interesting. I watch your show and I watch others, and I see people saying things. They're crazy. These people are crazed lunatics, even the way they'll answer. It's like you'll see them, and the things they say are really bad. But they look crazy. They're almost crazed. Maybe they're drugged out. Maybe there's some other problem. But the kind of things you hear, you probably don't put most of them on. But the kind of things you hear are so unbelievable. You wouldn't think, you're a very regular person. I am too. I'm a regular person. Who would make the statements that they make? Did you see the guy the other day run through all the flowers that put down in loving memory of Charlie? This maniac runs through the flowers, kicking them all down and stepping and stomping on them. And fortunately, somebody grabbed him and gave him a rap. But the guy looks like a normal guy. And who would do that? I mean, who would do it? Running through these plants and
that's
flowers.
ruining property. So once you cross the line from just speaking.
It's not the ruining property. It's the concept of doing it. Who would do this?
No, it's horrible.
You have people that are
But
placing...
you have the freedom in this country to burn a flag, but not to ruin, someone's... That's the question, where do you draw the line, I guess is the question.
You can say the ruination of property, because you probably do better with that, because free speech seems to be you're able to do anything. So you can say... But when I saw this thing, I couldn't believe it. I had to rewind it and say, I love the rewinding. It's without it, we couldn't live without it, because sometimes you can't believe it. But I watched this young guy running through and kicking everything around.
Yeah. And he had a T-shirt on that was the same T-shirt.
It's just a terrible thing. That's the other thing. They have signs, and they're all professionally made. Real protesters make them in their basement. And they're all the same.
So who's behind it? Do you have a gut feeling?
You hear Soros. I don't know. We're going to find out if he's behind it. But it's incitement to riot. That's a criminal act. And people are dying because of it. So it's really, it's death. So we're gonna find out, and it should have been done a long time ago.
Let me ask you, as a parent and a grandparent, when you look at these stories, right? This guy, Tyler Robinson, Thomas Crooks, who almost took your life, Luigi Mangione has all these people supporting him. What's your advice to parents?
Think about Mangione. He shot someone in the back. As clear as you're looking at me or I'm looking at you, he looked like a pure assassin. I was surprised, actually. You would have thought this guy would have been at a central casting in the movie, and maybe he was. But he think of what he did. He openly, it's not like, gee, there's a question. If there's a question, you can understand it, maybe. But there's not a question. He walked up to a man, didn't give him warning, didn't say turn around, didn't do like the Old West where you have a gunfight, you each have a gun. He shot him right in the middle of the back, instantly dead. And now he's like, I'm watching, the girls are going crazy for him. This is a sickness. This is, this really has to be studied and investigated. It's not possible.
And these people are all, allegedly, at this point, they're all in the process in the Department of Justice. But what would you say to parents who are worried about kids getting deep into these holes on the internet, spending too much time gaming?
They should be worried. When you look at the picture of Charlie, I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it. I specifically, they told me what happened. I would have never made a good doctor. Okay? I don't like the blood and all of the things. And some people view that as like ho-hum. I was watching something, and people said, well, there's a lot worse on the internet and things. They watch this stuff. So that, there is a point at which it really does get to be pretty sick. I specifically said, they had it all teed up. They said, I don't want to remember Charlie that way. This was such a good guy. You knew him probably very well. I assume you knew him very well, right? He was a great guy.
Not as well as you, but yes.
No, but he was a great person. He really was a great person. I actually said, Charlie, someday I think you have a good chance of being president. I think you will be president, maybe. And I think he would have had a great chance. He was very compelling. I've never seen anybody capture a group of people like he captured youth. He captured youth. It was incredible. When I say he was a young guy, but I'm talking about the 20-year-olds and the 18-year-olds. It was like he had a following that was incredible.
He did. Do you feel, last question for you, sir, because I know you've had a long couple of days. I appreciate your time.
I just didn't have the courage to tell you I'm not doing it, because I've studied every monument and every painting in the entire UK. And I said, finally I'm doing it. They said, no, you're doing an interview with Martha. Oh, that's great.
Well, let me ask you this after the last week.
But it's
that
an
has
honor
been.
to do
Thank
it.
you. It's great to
I'm
have
a
you
big
with.
fan.
Great to have you, sir. Do you think it's the responsibility? Is it a role as president to bring people together? Is that part of the job?
Ideally. So I get this question so much, and when you see the kind of hatred out there, it's like unbelievable. And it's probably always been there. We just don't realize it. But I saw it starting with President Obama. I saw tremendous hatred. I saw levels that we've never seen before. And with Biden, it got far worse. just far worse when you look at what happened. This last 4 years has been terrible. But, you know, during my term, we had tremendous economic success. And just before COVID, I was getting calls from people that you wouldn't believe, people that you know very well, but people, I would call them the radical left, or certainly the left, more so than what we would think of as a traditional Democrat. And they wanted to get together. Remember that just before COVID, we had to handle the COVID. I think we did a great job with that, but it was COVID. The whole world was thrown asunder, right? The whole world went.
We're still recovering in a lot of ways as an economy.
In many ways, young people are recovering.
Yes.
Because they missed.
They're in the basement.
A piece of their life. A piece of their life was taken away.
Yes,
I wonder what it
true.
would be like if we didn't have that horrible thing that took place and it came from a certain place, and it was a terrible thing. It was a terrible thing. But if you think about it, when this happened, all of these things happened, and they all happened at once. And you do wonder, what would it be like? We would have had I think we would have had a different world. But it's very sad. It's very sad. What I would say is this, success brought people together. And I think the only thing that's going to bring them is tremendous success, and that includes economic success. I was getting calls from people, Martha, that you would not, if I told you some of the people, and I'll tell you if you want later, but I don't want to give them any publicity because they went bad as soon as things started going a little bit differently. But people wanting to get together, wanting to have lunch, wanting to talk, it was amazing, actually. And I say it, and I say it loud and clear. I think the only thing that's going to bring us together is tremendous success.
Mr. President, thank you very much for your time.
Very much.
Good to be with you.
Thank you,
sir.
Very much. Appreciate it.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.